Ever wonder what the world's going to look like in, say, 10 years? What if you could actually see the blueprint? Well, today we're diving into the mind of Cathie Wood, one of the world's most prominent and, yeah, sometimes controversial tech investors. We're going to try to understand her high-conviction game plan for the next decade. All right, let's get into it. And right out of the gate, she hits us with this incredibly bold claim: a tenfold increase. We're not talking about one lucky stock pick. We're talking about an entire class of technologies. That's a 1,000% return. I mean, it sounds almost unbelievable, right? So you have to ask, who is this person making this prediction, and why should we even listen? Well, for starters, her firm, ARK Invest, is overseeing nearly $30 billion in assets. So, this isn't just some casual guess. This is a multi-billion-dollar bet on the future, and it's backed by decades of spotting huge trends before pretty much anyone else. So what's the big idea driving all this conviction? Well, it all boils down to one central concept, a single idea that really powers her entire investment thesis and how she sees the world. And that idea is disruptive innovation. Now, this isn't about making a slightly better product. It's about technologies that are so powerful, they completely rewrite the rules of the game. Think about how the internet just decimated newspapers, or how smartphones basically made landlines obsolete. Cathie Wood is betting that we are on the verge of the biggest disruption in human history, all driven by 5 key areas. And here they are. These are the 5 pillars: artificial intelligence, robotics, energy storage, blockchain, and multi-omic sequencing, which you can kind of think of as AI-powered gene editing. But here's the really crucial part. She doesn't see them as 5 separate things. She believes it's their convergence, the way they're all starting to slam into each other and accelerate each other. That's going to create this explosive, unprecedented growth. And there's no better example of this than her single biggest bet. For most people, Tesla is an electric car company. Simple. But for Cathie Wood, that's kind of like saying Amazon is just an online bookstore. To her, Tesla is something much, much bigger.
So, why on earth would an innovation fund put so much of their money into what just looks like a car manufacturer? Well, the answer comes from looking at the company through a totally different lens. And this lays it out perfectly. The traditional view sees a company selling cars. It's a one-time sale. But ARK's view, they see an AI company that's building a massive network. They believe the car is just the piece of hardware you need to access this huge recurring revenue stream from a fleet of autonomous robotaxis. The real product isn't the metal car, it's the data, the software, the AI that powers the whole network. And the scale of that network? It's just staggering. ARK's research is projecting that this whole autonomous taxi ecosystem will generate somewhere between $8 and $10 trillion in revenue every year within the next decade. To put that in perspective, the entire GDP of the planet today is around $130 trillion. So we're not just talking about a big market. This is a world-changing economic shift. And this all feeds directly into how they value the company. So ARK's 5-year price target for Tesla is $2,600 a share. But look at this chart. A whopping 90% of that value comes from the robo-taxi network. The actual business of selling cars, it's just that tiny little sliver left over. It really drives home the point that, for them, this investment has almost nothing to do with car sales. And this quote just perfectly sums it all up. In her mind, Tesla isn't competing with Ford or GM. It's an artificial intelligence play, one that's using robotics and energy storage to build the transportation network of the future. Okay, so now let's look at her other massive, headline-grabbing call. So if you thought the Tesla prediction was bold, her target for Bitcoin, well, it takes things to a whole other level. And remember, she was an early believer, getting in when Bitcoin was around $250, and her conviction has only gotten stronger. Yep, that's the number. $1.5 million for a single Bitcoin by the year 2030. So how on earth could we possibly get from where we are today to that? Well, it comes down to the same theme as Tesla. She sees Bitcoin as something fundamentally different than most people do. For her, it's not just a currency. It's not just a speculative thing. It's an entirely new asset class, the first truly new one since stocks were created back in the 1600s. And because it isn't tied to things like corporate profits or government decisions, it acts differently, offering this unique type of diversification for a portfolio. And she believes there are 3 key things that are going to unlock all that value. First up, institutional money. With the new Bitcoin ETFs getting approved, huge funds are just now starting to pour trillions of dollars into a very scarce asset. Second, It's becoming a form of digital gold, especially for younger generations who are just more comfortable with digital stuff. And third, and this one is often overlooked, it acts as a vital insurance policy for people living in countries with unstable currencies and government. Okay, so we've got autonomous AI taxis on one hand and a new global monetary system on the other. So how does all of this come together into a strategy that you can actually wrap your head around?
And this brings us right back to the main event, the big takeaway. It is not about AI or robotics or blockchain by themselves. It's all about how they merge and smash into each other. Tesla is the perfect example, right? It's the convergence of AI, robotics, and energy storage. These intersections, that's where she believes the most explosive, life-changing growth is going to happen.
And you can see this convergence theory playing out right across her top investments. You've got Tesla, of course. You have Coinbase, which is a gateway to the whole blockchain world. You've got CRISPR Therapeutics, a leader in gene editing, which is basically AI powering the future of medicine. Even a company like Roblox, which on the surface is a gaming platform, but it's also an entry point into coding and AI for a whole new generation. Each one sits at the intersection of these huge trends. And of course, just a reminder, this is all for informational purposes and is definitely not investment advice.
At the end of the day, this is this simple, powerful message at the absolute heart of her entire philosophy. The world is changing at an incredible, almost scary pace. And for people who fight that change, there's going to be a lot of disruption. But for those who embrace it and figure out how to be on the right side of that change, the opportunities, well, they're going to be enormous. And that really just leaves us with one final, pretty provocative question. And this isn't just about stocks or what's in your portfolio. It's about our careers, the skills we learn, and how we prepare ourselves for a future that might look very, very different from today. It's a question that's really worth thinking about. Are you on the right side of change?